veterans, and we selected an appropriate site. We will continue to listen to veterans. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hefner.
Mr. Casey and Mr. Sarai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We've heard today that this is all about veterans. This is what I would call Trudeau derangement syndrome, where individuals that have another agenda, an agenda that isn't aligned with veterans, one that is purely political, seek to smear the Prime Minister without foundation, without reason. And I think that that's what we're dealing with. Monsieur le Président, j'ai une référence.
Mr. Chair, I have a reference in the testimony of the meeting of October 19th in support of the position which I just stated. And this was an exchange between Mr. Desilets and the Minister of Veterans Affairs. During that discussion, Mr. Desilets accused the minister of sidestepping the questions that he asked, and he said, I will return to the question of veterans. As you know, for 4 years, I've been working very hard for veterans. Yet, in this file, there is no question of veterans. There is no question of veterans. That was very clear, and that explains why we are here. No question of veterans. It's not a question of veterans, it's a question of politics. That is why we see a lack of acceptance. That's why we wanted to vote against the amendment on the documents that involve the discussions between the Prime Minister's office and the Privy Council. So this is the true rationale for why we are here. I find this aberrant, indeed, that opposition members refused to produce the documents that would have enabled us to see correspondence concerning the jury, and that now they want to get something specific regarding the jury. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it seems to me that the opposition colleagues only want to get those documents that they think will align with the narrative that they're attempting to construct. They do not want to hear anything about veterans, nor even the opinions in favor of the final choice, i.e., the concept of the Stimson team. Nevertheless, it is a monument that is there to honor veterans, a commemorative monument, a national monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan that will recognize the commitment and sacrifice of Canadian men and women who served in Afghanistan, as well as the support that was provided by Canadians to them in the country. The monument will testify also to the profound gratitude of Canada toward the sacrifice given by persons who served in Afghanistan, including those who lost their lives or were injured either physically or psychologically. The monument will be used as a public space to remind us forever of the altruistic devotion of Canadians to their country, and will give future generations an opportunity to learn more about this particular monument to the history of our country. We know that the jury's decision was not unanimous, in contrast to what my colleague asserted in the House. The jury did a remarkable job in choosing the 5 finalist concepts. We all agreed with that. As head of the project, the role of Veterans Affairs Canada is to listen to veterans, It's the contrary that was said by Mr. Desile. It really is a question of veterans, and we must listen to them. Veterans Affairs Canada received comments from more than 12,000 Canadians regarding the concept for this monument. The veterans, their families, and others who participated in that mission are, for the most part, those who commented on those concepts. The concept of the Simpson team more accurately respects the comments of veterans, their families, and other participants in that mission during our consultation of public opinion. It is really essential to listen to veterans and honor their choice.
Mr. Chair, I'll close with this. What we have here is a political smear campaign that has far exceeded the partisan attacks and the partisan maneuvers we have seen in this place in other committees. In order to get to other committee business, in order to be able to do the things that are important to people, in order to be able to do the things that are for veterans, for example, in other committees, we have seen similar motions seeking the production of documents from the Prime Minister's office and the Privy Council office. But the following committees have actually adopted motions without the inclusion of PMO and PCO. The Ethics Committee had several motions about Chinese interference that included the PMO, where the committee agreed to remove the PMO. The Foreign Affairs Committee, the Public Accounts Committee, the Citizenship and Immigration Committee, and the Health Committee. There is a way to resolution of this impasse, and I would encourage everyone in the interest of veterans, which seems to be a bit of a novel concept, to try to put some water in their wine and to try to get through this impasse in a reasonable fashion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. And on my list, I have Mr. Sarai and Mr. Desile. Mr. Sarai, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I thank my colleague, Mr. Casey, on shedding light on this. Look, when you want a process, when we do a process and we don't consult veterans, we don't consult the stakeholders in it, the product you get is might be artistically great, but would not be something that people want. The previous government and the previous Minister for Veterans decided to put a monument under a bridge, tuck it away where only bicyclists could possibly drive by and wave to it, where the opposite was done. I guess when the victims of communists got a huge, glorious spot along Wellington Street for the whole world to see, while those who served and died for Afghanistan were about to get a spot between the Portage Bridge for, again, cyclists to wave on. Veterans were in uproar. They said they don't get it. They don't get it at all. This was done, and if you look at who it was conversed with, who knew, they said literally virtually no one. I think they checked with several veterans groups. None said they were consulted about the spot as an appropriate location to honor the 158 Canadian Forces members killed and the 40,000 who served during that 12-year mission. Even our Legion, the Royal Canadian Legion, said it didn't know a thing about it, except that Dow's Lake was once a candidate. Bruce Monroe, I think the president of the Year Older Veterans Association of Canada, said the group was not contacted. he's not only sold on the site, but appears that he was couldn't even find it and thought it was tucked away. Accessibility is everything too. I think veterans, as they had said at the time, if it's too far off the beaten track, pretty soon you can see the dandelions creeping in and skateboarders doing tricks on it, and jogger may run by it, but won't look back at it twice. It might be like a war itself, another forgotten war. These were the comments that the Veterans Affairs Office and the public heard after the previous decision was made. The main problem they had, that they were not consulted. They were not consulted on the final product, on the commemoration, the sacrifices, the location. And that's why in May of 2021, the Government of Canada posted a survey. They asked veterans, families of those who participated in the mission, Canadian Armed Forces members, other stakeholders, and the public, Canadian public, to share their thoughts on the design concepts proposed by the following 5 finalists. There was the Team HAPA Collaborative. There was the Team Lashley McDonald concept. There was the concept from Team PFS Studio. There was the Team Stimson. And the results after had over 12,000, I think 12,048 valid surveys were analyzed. There was 10,829 in English, 1,219 in French. In cases where multiple surveys were submitted from the same IP address, they were deemed to be overly similar or overly similar. All but one survey was only removed, so we can say that it was a fairly free vote and no manipulation occurred in that regards. The questions were pretty thorough. The first question was on monument theme. Following question was asked. This means that each respondent could select more than one answer. As a result, percentages may have added up to more than 100%, but you get to see how people felt about each. The monument had several related themes. Which designs you think most effectively express those themes? You were able to select the themes that appropriated to you. The themes were to express Canada's deep gratitude for the sacrifices made by Canadians who served in Afghanistan, including those Canadian Armed Forces members and civilians who lost their lives or were injured. There was 11,807 respondents. Team Doust got 26.5% of thought that people the surveyed thought that there was reflected it well. Team HAPA Collaborative got 13%. Team Lashley McDonald got 20.5%. Team PFS Studios got 16.8%. And Team Stimson got 63.9%, 64%, more than double of any other of the closest, which Team Doust was probably the closest at 26.5. So 2.5 times that response. The next question that was asked with respects to team, which was to recognize the strong support offered by families, friends, and communities at home and during the mission. Again, the 11,299 people responded. 27% thought Team Doust was had the best in that regards. 15.5% thought Team HAPA, and 17% McDonald, and 14% thought Team's PFS Studio. But Team Stimson got 52%. Again, double the amount of the nearest, the closest to reflect on that. When we go to acknowledge the efforts of Canadians in standing together with Afghan people to help rebuild their country and encourage understanding of the significance and scope of the Canadian mission. Again, 11,500 people. These are pretty comprehensive surveys, I might add, with a very strong response. 31% thought Team Doust, 13 on HAPA Collaborative, and Team Stimson was 56%. Again, doubling the, virtually doubling the second highest amount. The second most thing, I guess, which people, besides commemoration, is how many people will see it, what's the visitor experience. So there are questions asked with respects to do you think the design effectively performs the following for a visitor experience of functions? Again, over 11,500 responded. Team Doust got a good response of 37%. Others were 19, 19.5, 22, but Team Stimson got 54% of the response in favor, that it gave the best visitor experience when one came to see it. The other question was encouraging visitors to learn more about the mission. This is something that museums